So how do you create a brand that truly represents who you are and the products you sell, as well as building a business that you can scale online? That is what this podcast will help you do. My name is Henry Kaminsky Jr., and welcome to the Brand Doctor Podcast.
Let me just make this statement loud and clear. Jersey's here, Jersey's here.
What's shaking, everybody? Welcome to another Brand Doctor Podcast episode. Today, we are going to be talking about how to create an amazing customer experience for your clients so that they could go on and rave about your product or service. So I met somebody on Clubhouse recently that I thought was an absolute expert in this space. She spoke very eloquently and knew exactly the right things to say when we were talking about customer experience in that Clubhouse room. So without further ado, I want to introduce Claudia Chudzik to the show from ClaudiaChudzik.com. Claudia, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction.
You're very welcome. Yeah, I was very impressed the other day, and I immediately wrote down in my notes, because when I'm in those Clubhouse rooms, I always have a notepad next to me, and I said, Claudia, podcast.
Thank you for that. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. Me too. So real quick, you have a great resume, if you will, of your past. And I want people to understand that so they dial in to what it is that you're about to lay down for us today. So give us a little background of how you became such an expert in the customer experience space.
So for me, it started with hospitality. I actually come from hospitality background initially. And when I started working in a corporate environment, because as life goes, I ended up going into FMCG instead of hospitality after graduating. The more I moved up the ladder and the more I moved into the back office, the less contact I had with customers. And I was really missing it, especially after serving them every single day. I was very lucky to be on the project that launched me into the context of customer journey, which ultimately is my customer journey and customer experience, which is ultimately bridging the gap between us sitting in an office and having contact with our customers and understanding the two sides and bringing business and customers together. So after my corporate experience, which moved into becoming part of a team that was driving customer experience, building that team, training other markets on how to do that, and instilling those processes into the environment that I was in there, I decided to jump out and start sharing the knowledge with other companies.
Now, you were in Fortune 500 companies here. Like, this wasn't some mom and pop shop.
Yes. So it was really fascinating because when there's such large companies and the processes are really ingrained, working inside on changing processes and instilling those customer-centric processes is a lot more challenging than in a startup. So it was a really wonderful experience.
Yeah. So we're going to dive into the nitty gritty on how to create an amazing customer experience and journey right after this quick little message. If you're a business owner who feels your branding isn't truly representing the value that you deliver, check out this free video training that will help you level up your brand's messaging and online presence so that you can start attracting higher quality clients. Visit www.uniquedesigns with a Z at the end, not an S, .net/level up my branding. All right, Claudia, let's get into it. So, but for those folks that do not know what a customer journey is, because you can look at it two different ways, explain to the audience what exactly the customer journey is.
Yeah. Ooh, it's my bread and butter every day. So a customer journey could be looked at from two different angles. It could be a small customer journey. So if we take a company such as Starbucks, it could be looking at an experience of a customer walking into the shop and then all the way through purchasing coffee and leaving back out again. As much as, and this is the one I love, is really the customer journey from a bird view of the entire company. So what happens from the moment that someone finds out about your product? How do they move through to learning about the product, figuring out if it's for them, purchasing the product, and then staying and talking to other friends about it and going through that cycle from A to Z?
Got it.
That's in high level.
Yeah, super high level, right? Yeah, it's when I think of customer journey, I think external and internal. Internal, like you just mentioned, when they walk into the front door or they get to your website, what happens next, right? On the external side, it's, well, what compelling event happened in their life that is making them now seek a product or service of your type? So
absolutely,
that's something that we really need to plug in. So I get this question a lot, Claudia. How does one begin to find this out? How do we as entrepreneurs position ourselves to create a great customer journey for our clients once they hit our website or they walk through our doors? What do we need to be doing as business owners to, I guess, what's our homework?
Absolutely. And it's such a big question, and it depends so much on the company and the clients that are in front of us. So what you're referring to is that in the CX world, we call it the customer needs and the pain points, right? So those are the two main things that are scattered across the journey. And they're ultimately the reasons why the need would be, why does the customer come to us in the first place? What need are we resolving for them? What do they need from us, from a company? So there's many different angles to look at that from. And then there's pain points. So if they're moving from one side across the journey, as we said before, what's happening for them? What's frustrating them? What's delighting them? What's getting them excited about the product? And the first step to figuring that out is really understanding who that person is, who's the ideal customer. And that goes beyond the traditional persona that we talk about as I was taught in business school. So when I was in school, the way that we were taught to look at persona was to look at demographics and to look at this might be a female or a male or another format of demographical age group coming from this type of background with this type of education level. And the thing is that looking at it like this is helpful for specific metrics in certain channels, so targeting through Facebook ads, etc. But it doesn't give us clues on who that person is. And so the first step is really getting under the skin of what does that person want? What is important to them? What does their day look like? Do they get up in the morning and start with coffee, or is it tea? Are they in a rush in the morning, or do they take their time? Those are the first kind of clues that will give us insight into how to work and meet them at where they are, instead of trying to drive them into the customer journey that we built and asking them to meet us at where we're at, and for us to adapt our customer journey and come to them and make it easy and effortless for them to integrate into that customer journey. And there's so many ways that can be done. The first step, it depends if this company is just starting out or if this is an existing company. But if it's an existing company, the excellent place is to start with the existing customers. They were the successful ones that already made it through the funnel, whatever that funnel looked like. So this could be very formal. This could be a survey to be sent out to them to get to know them a little bit better. It could be also interviews, just phone call interviews if it's possible to contact that individual, to reach out to them and have a little bit of a understanding what did their journey look like with the company. But those are first clues onto who they are. When we ask them, why was this important to you? Or if you liked this, why did that stand out to you? By asking the why question, we start digging into what was it that was of importance to them. And the same way, if this is a brand new company, well, it's okay to start with an ideal image, to start with mapping out where we believe or who that person looks like. Then finding those individuals. I mean, there's incredible tools out there. There's SurveyMonkey that helps us track down and have preliminary questions. So if we believe that this person is someone who gets up in the morning and is around that age and lives in this city, we can actually use those questions in the beginning of our survey and only let through to the end of the survey the individuals who are meeting those criteria, and have a chat with them. Does this match up? How interested are they in the product? If they are not that interested, or there's something off there, it means we might have the wrong person in front of us, or the wrong needs that we're looking at.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's great stuff. And one of the things that I do is I go to competitors and I look at their case studies. I look at their testimonials, especially if they're video testimonials, and I pay attention to the language that person is using. And right there in that testimonial, they usually say a couple of things, right? One is where they were hurting. So to your point, the pain points, and how that competitor helped them. So
Absolutely.
You could literally take the words out of their mouth, air quotes, and use them for copy, use them for ways to connect with them. And to your point with the why question, right? One of the great, it's a 3-word line that has been so helpful for me and discovering this, not only when I'm doing strategy with clients, but trying to understand my ideal client, is when you have that conversation going and they start to talk to you, asking them, tell me more. Tell me more. I want to know. I'm like a little kid. I'm curious. Let me know. And just let them speak and watch what happens. Just make sure you're taking notes and make sure you're listening with intent, because that's the gold that's going to craft a beautiful customer experience. So go on.
Absolutely. I'm going to try to contain myself because you said so many important things here. One is, and I'll come back to this one because I love that you touched on the fact of taking the language and reflecting it back at them. The language that they use, it's such a big part of meeting our customers at where they're at. And before I jump to this one, you mentioned the second part. You mentioned about I lost my train of thought. So I'll stick with the language part. So I heard your podcast recently, which was on lead generation. I believe it was a podcast, or you were online somewhere talking about lead generation with experts. It was fantastic, and there was so many actionable insights there. And what it made me think of is the beginning of the journey, right? So when we go from, for example, awareness, we find out first about that product, then we go to consideration, figuring out whether we resonate with that product, if it's going to address our needs and our pain points. And then we decide on, are we ready to sign up and go into the lead generation with a company? And that for me is the perfect place to be leveraging language out of it. Because if we are using the language that the customers are using, so instead of saying to them what we believe they want to hear, but instead reflect to them their issues and putting them on paper for them, listing them out, saying, do you feel this way? We've heard you speak about the fact that you feel this way. This is such a powerful step to move customers away from thinking about maybe signing up with the company to moving into those lead generation programs. So that's one area of language, but this resonates all across the journey. I mean, for example, it's really interesting here in Europe with a lot of languages that we have. A lot of languages such as French and German have the first form and the third form when we speak to someone, third being more official and first being very personal. A lot of companies, what they do across the customer journey is that they speak in the beginning of if you notice the advertisements, when they speak at the beginning of the journey, they speak to them in third form, the formal form, because we don't know each other yet. The moment that person purchases, they start switching their language into first form because we're friends now. We're part of the same company. We're part of that community at this point, and we start switching with that language of we're in this together and we know each other well enough for us to speak in that first personal form. I thought that was really interesting that I've noticed here around the languages.
Yeah, that's incredible. You know, some of the things that are also that I'm looking at time here and I'm saying to myself, oh man, we got 15 minutes left. We got to make this count, right? So much great stuff has been said so far. So now I want to get into sort of crafting the right experience once they get to our site, once they get to our brand, if you will. What can we do to be conscious of the customer's journey once they are actually introduced to us?
Absolutely. Great question. The first and foremost thing to ask ourselves is, this channel, where is it across the journey? And where is it meant to be? So, for example, one thing that's very easy when we start out with a business is to say, okay, we need a website. Let's start a website. And we try to pack the entire customer journey in just the entire website. But the fact is that if we take that customer journey and we map out our channels across it, we're going to find out very quickly that that website only has a role in certain parts of the journey. And so, for example, let's say that we met on Clubhouse, right? So we met on Clubhouse, and the awareness of how we found out about each other was through Clubhouse. Clubhouse is a very specific channel where we hear each other speak. So we actually started realizing that we resonate with each other at the point of Clubhouse. But the next step for us when we later on connected was to go to the website. At this point, I've already heard about you. I know more or less what you do. I know at this point that you're what your background is. And so I'm looking for more information. Now, if I land on that, if this is the situation, to use it as an example, and I land on the website as a customer, and the first thing I see on the website is the beginning of the journey again, I'm going to very quickly lose interest. And we are unfortunately, in the world today where our patience and our attention span is so much shorter. Right. I've heard somewhere that it takes 3 clicks to lose someone out of a website before they decide whether they're going to stay there or not. So figuring out where it is on the customer journey and making sure that when that person lands on, let's say, this website, they are being picked up exactly where they left off. It's a continuation. They're not restarting the process. They're not going back. And sometimes a website could have multiple purposes. It could be, for example, for finding out more about the company, as much as competitor analysis, as much as for loyalty later on, and for returning content. So it's really important that we create those areas in the website and the landing pages and hook them up correctly and seamlessly into the journey, so that, again, someone who already purchased the product doesn't hear again next time they land on the website. They don't come back to hearing again what this product is. They already own it. They know what it is. They're looking for the next step about it.
It's like a record skipping. Right?
Yeah,
it's like a CD skipping. Some people that are listening to this may be too young for records. But yeah, it's like a CD skipping, and you want to make sure that you're meeting them where they are. Like that's basically what you're saying, which is so important. And understanding, when you understand your client, your customer, you know how they like to consume information. And that's something that I have to spotlight, because there's a lot of folks out there that want to attract a high net worth client or a high quality client, and they're still trying to lure them in with a downloadable PDF. And Claudia, one thing that I've understood with the clients that I serve is they're over that part. They want to get to me. They want a quick video to understand what the hell I do and how it's going to serve them, and they want to get onto it. Like, because their time is their most valuable asset. So me knowing that, when you go to my website, the first thing that I offer them is a masterclass. It's quick, it's fast, it's punchy, and it tells you what to do next at the end. I know that my clients like video. They want to see it, they want to feel it. They're going to get a read on me, and that's the way I'm going to present to them. So be very conscious of who your ideal client is and how they like to consume information, and give them what they want.
Absolutely. I love I don't know if you've heard about the example of Lamborghini. I believe it was Lamborghini. Lamborghini doesn't do TV advertisements. No. One of the few companies. The reason for that is very simple. They don't believe that their customers are sitting in front of the TV. So why put resources into putting it out there on TV, which costs a lot of money? Why put it out there if their client is not sitting in front of TV? Let's meet them at where they're actually consuming their data. And I don't know what it might be in the case of Lamborghini, but there's so many places. We have a tendency today to think of social media first, but not everyone functions with social media. Especially, I feel like there's been a movement recently for some individuals to step or consciously step away from social media or curb it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So what are they doing in their spare time? Are they going out on a walk? Are they driving in their car? They're listening to radio or listening to a podcast. Where can we meet them? And this could be also influenced by culture. So again, in Europe, we have so many different cultures to look at here. I live in Switzerland, so I'm still surprised how snail mail is really popular here, very much so today, and it is a preferred channel. And it's not something I'm originally Polish, so it's not something I would necessarily think of. I think of digital today, etc. But the fact is that a lot of individuals still like to get to their brochure in the post and look at it, etc. And that's something specific to the individuals here. So maybe going back to something that traditionally, let's say, we moved away from, might be the surprising element to come back to today with everything going on digitally and all the noise that's there.
Yeah, for sure. There was one other thing that I wanted to share with everybody regarding this topic, and I wanted to get your take on it before we move into some fun questions, is the importance of removing the friction through your customer journey. So when they come to your website, when they come to your funnel, removing the friction, removing the barriers, right? Now, I got to watch myself because I don't want to stick my foot in my mouth, because I'm always telling people that they need to qualify their clients just as much as their clients trying to qualify them, right? But what I mean is, it's as simple as making sure that when they hit your landing page and they want to move to the next step, that is a seamless process, that it's not clunky, that they can get to your calendar and they can get to the next step that you want them to take with ease. They shouldn't have to hit the back button. They shouldn't be getting lost on your website. So if you could just spend a couple of minutes on how some folks could remove the friction and make it easier for people that are interested in their product or service to do business with them.
Yeah, definitely. And you were mentioning they're not mutually exclusive to, say, qualifying our customers and easing it out, because ultimately our goal is that if we're losing customers, hopefully they're the ones that we didn't qualify.
Right. We don't want.
So, yeah. So customer fallout could be a good thing.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't resonate with our brand, and that's completely okay. But it's just understanding what that customer fallout looks like. And when I say customer fallout, I mean people who decided not to continue with going forward with our business. So you raised something really important. And I think that it's worth mentioning that there are very visible frictions, and more often than not, the frictions that are super important to tackle are the ones that are not visible. And this is where it gets a little bit trickier. So for the visible frictions, it's pretty straightforward to notice them. There's something that's broken in our funnels. And what I mean, I say broken as in it looks broken. It could be also that there's just frictions. So let's say that we have all our beautiful, lead generations in place, and they're not catching people and no one's signing up. That's a first sign to say there's something going on there, and we need to dig in a little bit deeper into understanding why are people falling out there. The best of best case scenarios is if you manage to catch them. And I've seen some companies do this in the physical space where they would manage to catch individuals who decided not to purchase a product in a physical store, run up to them and say, hey, could you tell us a little bit more walk us through about what happened here? Not to convince them to purchase the product, but just to understand from a place of curiosity as to how can we do better for you in the future to help you move forward. So those are for the visible ones, and they're pretty visible just by numbers. I mean, the more we track our numbers and we have that customer journey laid out, the more we see where those fallouts are. The thing is that majority of people, and I don't want to misquote any numbers here, but I believe it's 1 in 27 people that actually speak up when they have an issue. If we think about the call center calls, the fact that someone actually went through the trouble of saying, I am frustrated enough to find a number, dial it, wait on hold to say, I had an issue, that's a very small amount of people, because for everyone else, what basically happens is that they don't even bother. They put the product or service aside and they say, okay, I'm done, moving on to somewhere else where this won't happen. So we don't even get alerted about this. And so it's super important that not only are we making sure that we remove frictions for individuals that contact us, and of course, those are the most urgent ones because they're verbalizing to us to say, hello, we have an issue and I need you to help me fix this issue. And of course, that needs to be taken care of. But also doing audits and reaching out to our customers out there to check in with them and give them the platform to speak up about something that maybe normally wasn't big enough, or they didn't feel it was important enough for them to pick up and alert us about this. So just reaching out and checking in the same way we check in with our friends and family, just checking in with our customers. Say, if they tell us on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely, the famous NPS, or how likely are you to recommend our company to, or our product to someone else, and they say, oh, a solid 9 out of 10, great. What can we do next time to make sure that it's a 10? Where did that 1 point go? Or if they give us a 10, great. What can we do to get a 12 next time from you? So just pushing them a little bit further and giving them the platform to speak up, that will uncover all those frictions that we need to address across it and resolve it in an effortless way for them, to show them that we care. Because the great news is that actually studies have shown that individuals who had their issues resolved in a timely and compassionate manner are sometimes more likely to stick and become loyal to the brand than someone who's never encountered a single issue in the process. So how we deal with the frictions is so important. They're almost like little blessings in disguise that tell us what's going on.
They really are. And you couldn't pay enough money to get that feedback. Yeah,
absolutely.
There was a guy on Clubhouse, real quick. There's a guy on Clubhouse, Cody Sperber. He goes by the Clever Investor. And I love listening to this guy talk. He's a no BS guy, and him and I align in that sense. And they were talking about, disgruntled customers. And he was like, those are my favorite. Not because he says they give me the best feedback to help me make my product or service better. And I don't take it personal. I don't take it to heart. I look at what they're saying, see if there's validity to it. And if there is, we make the adjustment right away. And that has made him millions of dollars over the course of, I think he's been doing this for almost a decade, I think, if not more. So, super, super important to get that information, get that feedback, and make those adjustments to make that seamless customer experience. So I have one.
And then observing, if I may add the last one here, and observing what they do after it. Because there's the say versus do phenomenon, which is someone can tell us that this is what they want, or that they wish that it happened this way, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they will translate it into doing. So first, implementing those changes based on what they say, but also really paying close attention about what they do and taking our data from both verbal and actual actions to feed into it.
That makes total sense.
Important.
That makes total sense. Yeah, we want to make sure that the action is actually being taken. Claudia, absolutely. I could talk to you for hours about this stuff. Like, this is right up my alley. So I usually ask a fun question at the end, but we are literally out of time and I have to prep for another interview that's going down in another half an hour. So before we get out of here, where can people learn more about you? And I saw that you do like a customer experience audit, which I thought was really cool. Where could people learn more about you and get access to you?
Absolutely. So my surname is a little complicated, but I believe you can see it on the screen. Every social media, you'll find me under @Claudia, and then surname Chudzik. Polish surnames. And the website is under the same format, so www.claudiachudzik.com. And I am very responsive on Instagram, so if you have any questions, you want to connect, please reach out on Instagram. I'm posting a lot of reels there as well, breaking down some of these little knowledge pieces into 30-second videos, injecting fun into it. And also, as you said, there's the CX audit. So if you're looking to just have a little bit of a first customer feedback of someone else going through your website or through your program, just to have a look from an outside of what that looks like and have that first feedback, you'll be able to find that information on the website and sign up to contact me there, and we'll set up a date to talk.
Awesome. Claudia, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge and your wisdom and your experience in this space. We tackled a lot, and my ask for everybody that's listening and watching today is to just take one piece that we talked about today and implement that. One piece. And then when you finish that, go on to the next piece, because that's how you get shit done. Period. We could talk about it all day, but if you don't take action on it, nothing is going to happen. So, Claudia, thank you so much. Go check out her website. Go get one of those CX audits. I think it will be well worth your time and energy, because that outside perspective is priceless. So, have an amazing day, guys. Don't forget to drop a little review or drop a comment if you're watching this or listening to this, or and give me some feedback. I want to know if this episode was awesome, if it sucked, and if it did, tell me why, because I'm here to help you design and build a brand that's going to bring you 7-figure success and beyond, and have you designing the life that you truly deserve. So have an amazing day, guys, and I'll catch you on the next episode.
Hey everyone, this is Henry Kaminsky Jr. again, and really quick, I want to invite you to a one-on-one consult with me right now if you're looking for the clarity and focus you need to build your brand. Over the past 13 years, I've served hundreds of entrepreneurs that have great products but struggled tremendously with articulating its value to their ideal customers. You didn't get into business to just change a few lives, did you? Your ideal clients need you. And when your brand has precision-crafted messaging coupled with beautifully thoughtful design that sounds, looks, and feels like you, they'll know you're the perfect match for them. If this is something you're struggling with, what I want you to do right now is pause this audio and go visit www.uniquedesigns, with a Z at the end, not an S, .net, and book your one-on-one console call with me. Remember, the quality of your brand will determine the quality of your clients, and the quality of your clients will determine the quality of your life.